All right, Broncos country, it's time that we have a chat about our starting left tackle and his future in the Mile High City. Garett Bolles has had a really bad training camp up till this point. I mean, really bad. The dude is coming off of a very serious fractured ankle last year that he suffered, and in training camp, it's very clear that either he's not healthy, or if he is healthy, then we've got some really big problems. And unfortunately, like I kind of predicted it would, this translated into our preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals. As we all saw out there, Russell Wilson was under very heavy duress when the first team offense was out there, and Garett Bolles was one of the main contributors to that problem. Whenever Bolles wasn't letting people blow past him, he was holding guys. I mean, it was just embarrassingly bad for Garett Bolles at the office on Friday night in Arizona. And he was going against one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL in a preseason game. He got overwhelmed for a strip sack fumble by Dennis Gardeck. This dude's out of Sioux Falls. I mean, I know who Dennis Gardeck is, but I can't imagine there are too many NFL fans out there who do. Garett Bolles is getting destroyed by no-name players out there, basically. Imagine what it's going to be like in Week 1 when he has to go against Max Crosby, or in Week 2 when he has to go against Washington's edge rushers in Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I'm not excited at all for that matchup whatsoever. I'm scared of what Garett Bolles is going to look like. Now, don't get me wrong, Garett Bolles wasn't the only contributor to the Broncos' offensive line issues on Friday night. Pretty much everybody except for Lloyd Cushenberry had their fingerprints on it. I mean, even Quinn Miners and Ben Powers were pretty bad in that game. But Garett Bolles was just on a whole new level of bad in that game. And that's concerning, because if he really is 100% coming off of his injury right now, and I don't think it is, then Garett Bolles is not going to provide the level of play that we need him to provide. And at that point, you really have to consider maybe inserting Cam Fleming at left tackle. Garett Bolles, at his level of play right now, would be a flat-out liability out there at left tackle. Now, don't get me wrong, Cam Fleming had a bad day of his own out there against the Cardinals, but he wasn't a flat-out liability out there like Garett Bolles was. If Bolles can't get his together, then he's probably not going to play. And if that is indeed the case, and Bolles ends up losing his job to Cam Fleming, then we need to talk about how the Denver Broncos can potentially move on from Garett Bolles. So let's come over here and take a look at Garett Bolles' contract situation, courtesy of Spot Track. So as you can see here, the Broncos could, in theory, move on from Garett Bolles right now. In a post-June 1st release on his deal, which this obviously would be, the Broncos would only have to take a $4 million cap hit, and they would save $13.82 million against the cap in 2023. Now, I obviously feel like cutting Bolles right now is such an extreme step that's not going to happen, but let's just say that Garett Bolles is a massive liability down the road, as in like Melvin Gordon level of liability from last year. If Bolles provides that poor of a level of play and gets benched mid-season, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sean Payton just cuts his losses and moves on from him. However, as we come over here and look at next season, it makes a lot more sense after this year to maybe move on from Garett Bolles, as the team would save $16 million against the cap, and they'd still only have to take a $4 million dead cap penalty. So at the end of the day, man, yes, Garett Bolles does have a bloated whale of a contract, but as we can see here, the Broncos can get out of that contract with a relatively low financial penalty. I wouldn't be surprised if that's maybe the route that they go down next offseason if Garett Bolles is not able to get his stuff together this year. There's no point in keeping Bolles around at a $20 million cap hit next season for providing really low-level left tackle play. And this is something else that I feel like a lot of people are failing to take into account. There's a chance that Bolles just might not fully recover from his injury. He's a left tackle on the wrong side of 30. I mean, the dude was already 25, 26 when we drafted him, and now he's entering his age 31 season. So I'm really concerned about Garett Bolles maybe not even fully recovering from his injury, and if that's the case, then the Broncos have to move on. So right now, things are not looking good for Garett Bolles in the Mile High City, and he's really going to have to step things up and prove that he's healthy and can still play at a high level in order for us to justify keeping him next year. Because if he doesn't, then it's very easy to see that the Broncos could and will move on from him. All right, Broncos country, On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level in Garett Bolles entering the regular season? I gotta be honest, right now I'm sitting at about a 3 until he proves otherwise. But let me know how you guys feel. Drop those comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are 2 free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.